Hello, this is Chaewon Kang from Seungbae University. Today I'm going to present our paper, the Vlog Multimodal Vlog Dataset from Depression Detection. Major depressive disorder is considered as one of the most common mental health disorders and has become an important problem in society. The World Health Organization reported that approximately 280 million people were diagnosed with clinical depression in 2019. If the depression is left untreated, it can cause severe outcomes such as addiction, reckless behavior, and even suicide. Hence, early detection of depression and appropriate clinical intervention is becoming increasingly important. In analyzing and detecting depression, nonverbal signals have been considered as important factors. Scholars have shown that depressed and non-depressed groups can be distinguished by nonverbal signals such as facial expressions, body movements, and vocal intensity. For example, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders describes that agitation, such as the inability to sit still or pacing, hand-wringing, or retardation, such as slowed speech and body movements, increased pauses before answering, can be observed from depressed patients. With the recent advancements in computer vision and signal processing techniques, there have been great efforts in developing depression detection models using nonverbal signals. However, big challenges remain in automatic and accurate depression detection based on nonverbal signals. First, although many scholars have studied how to analyze and detect depressed individuals, mainly due to privacy issues, there are only a few publicly available datasets on depression, such as DIGWAS, Pittsburgh, and AVID Corpus. Second, most of the datasets on depression have been developed in a laboratory setting through interviews, which may not capture the usual behavior of depressed individuals in the wild. Therefore, we propose a new depression dataset, DVLOG, that includes the nonverbal behavior of depressed individuals captured not in a laboratory but in daily lives. Unlike data collected in a laboratory setting, data collected from social media can be useful in capturing and observing unusual patterns of depressed individuals revealed in daily lives. Additionally, we propose a multimodal deep learning model that only uses nonverbal features, acoustic and visual features, extracted from the given video in detecting depression. Our extensive experiments demonstrate that the proposed model outperforms other baselines, which has implications on accurately and timely detecting depression at an early stage. We highlight the main contributions of our work as follows. First, we make our dataset publicly available. Considering privacy concerns, we only provide de-identified anonymized data. The dataset contains a total of 961 videos with 816 distinct speakers. Next, to our best knowledge, this is the first attempt to apply a cross-attention on multimodal depression detection. Our evaluation shows that the cross-attention layer is demonstrated as useful in representing relationships across modalities, thereby achieving high performance in detecting depression based on multimodal data. Finally, the proposed model and dataset can be generalized and applied to other formats of video data, such as clinical interviews. The experimental results shows that the model trained with the proposed dataset also achieves a high depression detection performance for DIGWAS, where videos are recorded in a clinical interview format. Now let me introduce the proposed depression vlog dataset. We aim to build a dataset containing the balanced numbers of depression and non-depression vlogs, thereby helping a model to learn unique depression-related features that are distinct from the non-depression features. To this end, we first collected YouTube videos, which can be posted for 13 months, by using the following such keywords. Using the two types of keyword sets, we could download 4,000 videos, which are randomly selected from the search results. To label the collected videos into depression and non-depression vlogs, we recruited 4 college students. We educate the annotators with the annotation criteria, along with sample videos to ensure a similar level of annotation quality across all vlogs. We assign 1,000 videos to each annotator and ask for 2 texts as follows. First, annotators identify whether the given video has a vlog format where one person speaks directly to the camera. That is, we remove videos not in vlog format so that the acoustic and visual features can be extracted from the person in videos. Next, the annotators carefully watch videos with automatically generated transcripts to identify whether speakers in the videos have depression or not. More specifically, the annotators label a given video as a depression vlog if the speaker shares his or her current state of depression symptoms at the moment of recording. We do not consider speakers who just share today's bad feeling without any depression-suspected phrases and suffered from depression in the past, but already have overcome it based on the content of the vlogs. The dataset consists of 555 depression and 406 non-depression vlogs, with an average length of approximately 640 and 536 seconds, respectively. The duration of both depression and non-depression vlogs show a heavy tail distribution. About 98% of both depression and non-depression vlogs have less than 30 minutes. Over 90% of YouTube channels have only one vlog. This implies that our dataset has variety in vloggers, which minimizes the chance of overfitting by identifying vloggers. To extract audio features from a given vlog, we employ OpenSmile, an open source toolkit for audio processing. We first segment the audio sequence of each vlog into seconds. From each audio segment, we extract 25 low-level acoustic descriptors, which include loudness, MFCCs, and spectral flux, etc. We then average values of all 25 features in each segment and concatenate T segments to obtain audio feature vectors. For visual feature extraction, we use dlib, a well-known open-source software for computer vision tasks, such as face recognition and verification. We extract 68 facial landmarks for each frame in the vlog and obtain 136 dimensional vectors by concatenating each x and y coordinates. If the face is not detected in the frame, we replace it with 0 vectors. To de-identify each speaker in our dataset, we only provide extracted features instead of audio and video files. Hence, individuals cannot be identified with these features. We followed all the anonymization processes guided by the Institutional Review Board. We now introduce the problem statement that describes the objectives of our proposed model, depression detector. The goal of the proposed model is to detect depression by learning nonverbal representations, including acoustic and visual features of a speaker in a video. That is, our proposed model is defined as binary classification problem that classifies a given vlog into depression or non-depression. Suppose we have a set of vlogs P, and each vlog can be represented as Pn. Given a set of vlogs P, we classify the vlogs into corresponding labels by learning latent features of speakers with symptoms of depression. This figure illustrates the overall architecture of the depression detector. To leverage multimodal inputs of video, our model employs two encoders, including the unimodal transformer encoder and the multimodal transformer encoder. More specifically, two unimodal transformer encoders each take acoustic and visual feature vectors as inputs to generate unimodal representations. Next, the multimodal transformer encoder colligates the acoustic and visual multimodal representations to make a final representation of the given vlog. By learning the multimodal representation, the depression detection layer finally predicts depression labels of the vlog. The proposed model utilized the unimodal transformer encoder to generate representations of each input modality. Therefore, our proposed model is not limited to acoustic and visual features, but any other modalities can be simply added by employing the unimodal encoder. To model sequential input data, we first downsample feature vectors, process local relationships by applying one-dimensional convolution layers, and use a positional encoding layer. We then utilize the original transformer encoder, which consists of self-attention and feed-forward layers. Since the self-attention layer guides the unimodal transformer encoder to focus on significant cues within each modality, unimodal representations can benefit the model to capture useful knowledge for depression detection. In self-attention, the same input feature is used as query, key, and value. Finally, the unimodal transformer encoder generates unimodal representations UA and UV. We next employ the multimodal transformer encoder to learn important relationships across modalities. More specifically, we propose to use a cross-attention model inspired by the prior work to incorporate visual and acoustic representations, thereby understanding latent information between the modalities. The encoder first takes acoustic and visual representations and passes them to the cross-attention model, where the source and target vectors are different. That is, one cross-attention layer uses acoustic representation as its query and visual representation as its key and value, whereas another cross-attention layer uses the opposite way. After residual connection and layer normalization, we obtain two cross-representations, UA and UV. In this way, the cross-attention layer can characterize and emphasize the relationships across modalities. To fuse the cross-modal information, we concatenate two different representations. Finally, the multimodal representation Z can be derived after transformer model. We finally add the depression detection layer to detect depression based on the multimodal representation Z. The ultimate logics of labels for depression detection can be inferred as shown. For depression detection, we define the task as a binary classification problem and utilize the cross entropy as the loss function. We use TensorFlow to implement our proposed model. We split the dataset into train, validation, and test sets with a 7:1:2 ratio. Note that these files share no YouTube channel with each other. For training the model, Adam Optimizer is used, and all weights are randomly initialized in both proposed and baseline models. Our proposed model suggests to apply the cross-attention mechanism to effectively fuse multiple modalities. To evaluate the proposed fusion method, we compare with 3 commonly used multimodal fusion operations: concat, add, and multiply in fusing audio and visual representations. More precisely, we first simply replace the multimodal transformer encoder in our proposed model with the above fusion operations. We then add the same depression detection layer in the depression detector. To evaluate the overall performance of the proposed model, we compare with the following 6 methods: logistic regression, support vector machines, random forest, k-nearest neighbors based fusion, bidirectional LSTM, and tensor fusion network. This table shows the weighted average precision, recall, F1 score of the baseline models and the proposed model, respectively. Among the fusion baselines, Multiply model achieves higher performance at 63.09% of weighted average F1 score than other fusion baseline methods. This implies that multiplicative fusion can generate more informative multimodal representation than other fusion methods. Comparing with model baselines, we find that BLSTM and TFN have higher performance than the traditional machine learning methods such as LR, SVM, and RF. This is because BLSTM and TFN are designed to consider sequential information of the input features, whereas the traditional machine learning models fail to learn such information. Overall, the proposed model outperforms all the baselines by achieving 65.57% of weighted average recall and 63.5% of weighted average F1 score. This suggests that the proposed 2-level transformer encoders and the multimodal fusion method can generate representations that capture distinct characteristics of depressed speakers. To analyze the importance of each modality for detecting depression, we conduct a performance analysis of the unimodal models trained with each modality. For unimodal depression detection, we only use the unimodal transformer encoder. We simply add global average pooling and fully connected layers with softmax activation function to the unimodal transformer encoder. As shown in this table, the model trained with acoustic features achieves higher performances than the model trained with visual features. That is, the acoustic features are more useful than the visual features in depression detection, which can be linked to the results of the prior study. This implies that depressive speakers have distinct features in their speech. Although facial expressions are less effective to detect depression than acoustic features, we find that considering both modalities significantly improves the performance. This reveals that learning acoustic characteristics and facial expressions, as well as their relationships, is more effective than relying on one modality. We next investigate how gender affects our depression detection. To this end, we first train and validate our model with a specific gender. Consistent with prior work, the model achieves higher depression detection performances with nonverbal features in the male set than in the female set. This implies that male depressive speakers in vlogs tend to show distinct indicators in their speech and facial expressions, which are different from male non-depressive speakers. While it is difficult to differentiate the characteristic between female depressive and non-depressive speakers. We next evaluate our model by training with both genders and test with a specific gender. As shown in this table, we find that learning features from both genders increases the overall performance. This suggests that nonverbal features from different gender are useful in detecting depression. In this validation, we use our proposed dataset DVLOG to detect depressions in Daegwas, which is clinically labeled dataset to analyze how the proposed DVLOG can contribute to research on depression. We first extract the acoustic and visual features from Daegwas, following the same feature extraction process used in DVLOG for fair evaluations. We then conduct the following 4 experiments with the proposed model. Train and test the model with DVLOG, and train the model with the Daegwas and test the model with the DVLOG. Train and test the model with Daegwas, and train the model with DVLOG and test with the Daegwas. We find that the model trained with DVLOG achieves higher depression detection performance than that with Daegwas in both datasets. This suggests that the features extracted in DVLOG are more useful than those in the Daegwas dataset. This may be because DVLOG contains more various acoustic and facial features captured in daily lives than Daegwas, which has been developed in a laboratory setting. We believe the features extracted from DVLOG can extend the research opportunity in detecting depressions from daily lives at an early stage. In this paper, we presented the multimodal depression dataset, DVLOG, to detect depressed individuals based on nonverbal signals. Our dataset consists of acoustic and visual features extracted from 961 vlogs with 816 distinct speakers. We also proposed the transformer-based multimodal deep learning model that uses a cross-attention mechanism to generate multimodal representations to detect depression. Our model takes acoustic and visual features extracted from a vlog as inputs and classifies whether the given vlog is depressed individual or not. The proposed model outperforms other baseline models. We believe that the proposed dataset and the multimodal depression detection model are useful for screening depressed individuals in social media at an early stage so that individuals who may need appropriate treatment can receive proper and timely clinical interventions. This is the end of the presentation, and thank you for your attention.